Speaking of forked tongues, I had a bit of a crack at Lachie Neale on Monday night. I felt that he'd done the wrong thing by his club in absolutely blindsiding them on Sunday after that heartbreaking 1-point loss in the semi-final to the Western Bulldogs. These are all the newspaper headlines that followed. This is an extraordinary story, Ross, and as Craig Hutchison pointed out on Monday night, it's the second time in 3 years that a football club, and you were the coach last time, found out via the media that one of your star players was seeking a trade. My understanding is that Lachie Neale will be interviewed tomorrow. His exit interview comes tomorrow with Chris Fagan and his team. I'm told that when he met the team on Monday that I think several people made the point that Chris Fagan speaks to this guy 3 times a week. He had absolutely no idea this was coming, and I think Lachie's view was, well, you know, finals are on the agenda, blah, blah, blah. But it speaks to the character of someone that they would do this to their football club in this way. I mean, he might have blamed Freo for leaking it or the manager, I'm not sure. Yeah,
my personal position is we're all looking for an angle. I haven't reached that at all, and we all want to try and understand it doesn't look good. I know Lachie. My position is I'm taking him at face value, which is why he left Fremantle when he came around and spoke to me for 2 hours. And then on this one, I think if he's saying Jules and COVID and the pregnancy and the family connection, I take him at face value. I understand that we're all looking for something else, but my personal opinion is, and hopefully I take him at face value what he said to Chris Fagan, give me some time and I'll come back. I'm optimistic he might even stay.
I believe he'll stay, and I think Brisbane should hold firm. And I know people say they could get a good deal, Matthew. This is the weirdest story I can remember in footy for a long time.
You like the idea of a deal, though, don't you?
Yeah, I think that Brisbane aren't in the worst spot because I just think, OK, give us 2 first-rounders and, of course, we'll hand him over. If not, we'll do a Josh Dunkley or a Tim Kelly and he'll remain with the Brisbane line. I think they're in a pretty good spot. They can look to better their list. Or he stays. Just play hard. I think more clubs need to play hardball on their players.
The only thing I'd say for you, Brisbane, Cameron got there on grounds of family and compassionate reasons. So this is a legitimate compassionate reason. If Lachie wants to go for compassion, they need to live their doctrine, how they recruited players, and get him back to where he needs to be.
Did the same with Dane Beams as well. All right, let's hear from Lachie Neale's father, Robbie, who had this to say today.
Right now, they just need a bit of support because it's been bordering on a sort of horrific. They've got paparazzi sort of following them around and camped outside of the house, and this is not how it should have been. It should have been a nice, quiet sort of conversation with Brisbane, and then through his management group to sort of make the right decision.
Yeah, well, sadly, it came out in the media, and
well, that's what happens when you try to break a contract. And I'm sorry, I know this. I'm not trying to sound harsh. It's a national game. You sign a 5-year deal that is front-ended, and I've read this week that 70% of Lachie Neale's 5-year deal has already been paid to him. So I have sympathy with Brisbane here, and I'm sympathetic that obviously people get homesick and it's been tough during COVID, but no one is asking him to sign his life to the Brisbane town. It's for the next 2 years.
Carolyn, there's a big difference between being, and I say with the greatest respect, a 2-time Fremantle best and fairest, which doesn't resonate that much over here in the East, and then being a Brownlow medalist. You become a national figure when you become a Brownlow medalist. So to think that what happened when he went from Perth over to Queensland the first time and then going back was going to be the same type of routine was never going to cut it.
Do you think, Ed, though, the players too easily want to break contracts in this modern game?
Well, let me play Justin Leppitsch's thoughts on that and then I'll give you mine.
If the players knew that, I've got a 3-year deal, but I could sell that contract to Adelaide next year, then the clubs would love it because you think if you've got a potential salary cap issue coming up, you can just do a quick transaction over the phone almost.
Are you in favour of trade without consent in the future?
Yeah, I am, because there's nothing the clubs really have back the other way. Because you think at the end of the day, the player's still getting his money. They're not really missing out that much. And now I don't think a club would actually trade you if they didn't think it would help you or them.
Whether I agree with it or not, Justin Leppitsch is right. That's where it's heading. Because I said this a couple of weeks ago. We still live in this sort of fantasy land that we raise money for the players' end-of-season trip. And they're all good guys and, you know, hooray, 3 cheers for the guys. Well, that was OK when they were being plumbers during the day, training at night and playing on a Saturday. Now it is a profession. And if you're told to move on in your business, plenty of people fly up on a Sunday night to Sydney from Melbourne or Perth and work till Friday night and then fly home to their family. People live overseas. People have been stuck in all sorts of places because of COVID. So it's going to get that way because I think the clubs are also getting sick of the situation where somebody turns up for pre-season training fat and then you've got to spend the whole summer trying to get them up to a condition they should have turned up while paying big money. Or you get somebody, and Caro, you wrote these stories plenty of times, where one of the biggest contracts we ever did at Collingwood that saved our club and built the future of our football club was knocked over with the TAC because players refused to do the right thing.
In this case, you've got a player who's done the right thing.
The clubs are going to start looking to sue managers and or players for misbehaviour if the money comes off. You lose millions of dollars worth of contract.
That's tangential, Ed, and I understand what you're saying, but this is a player who's done nothing wrong by Brisbane in 3 years. He's been a brilliant asset to them, but I just think you question someone's behaviour when, for the second time in 3 years, you learn through the media that they may be seeking a trade.
And is that Lachie's camp, someone letting him down?
It's not good enough, Ross, and it's happened twice.
You have to ask, how long have they spoken to Fremantle for? Because if that starts, well, it's a matter of time before it gets out.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, you know what? You might be right in the whole thing. He might end up playing there next year.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that he gathers himself.
And don't underestimate, and I'll give him a bit of slack here in these situations, and everybody. COVID has been bloody hard for everybody involved in this, and if his wife, is it her first child?
First child. Perth's a long way away.
It's been pretty tough on Chris Fagan too, by the way. He's taken a massive pay cut, as have all his assistants. Coaches have copped it much more than players, or CEOs, or AFL personnel for that matter. And when does Chris Fagan last seen his grandchildren? I mean, I just think really...
saying that's where the conversation at home would be.
It's too easy to walk out on these contracts.
But Chris has built a resilience. Like, he's an older chap.
But he is 28 years of age.
And Brisbane's bargaining power is now.
Yeah.
I'd do the trade now.
You're ruthless, Lloyd.